gonna try to film a project for once. So right now I'm in the trusty Duramax, and we're running to Jersey to pick up, or at least look at an 07 STI. It looks heavily neglected, so on the way there, should be there in a few minutes. Gonna see what she looks like. But from the looks of it, the motor's out, and the harness is like kind of half ripped out of the car, and it looks like it's been sitting for a few years. So we'll see what it's all about. Price is right. Supposedly has another new motor that comes with it, so we'll kind of see. But it's an 07, so either I'll fix it up, or if I need to use it for parts, I could use some parts off it. So I'll bring you guys along with. Alright, here checking out the car now. So just doing a quick walk around of it. Yeah, she's pretty beat. There's this harness from a Volvo sitting in the front, and as you can see in the back of it, there's just a clutch sitting on the rear seat. So he took pretty good care of it, I'd say. But yeah, the thing's just a crust bucket. Alright, the crusty eye has landed. It looks good on camera, but this thing's she's pretty clapped. So here should be a decrease in property value. She's got some nice wheels. Not one, but two. But he couldn't drive too well. It is what it is. Got the Volvo engine harness out of here, or chassis harness. I'll show you that in a second. And move some of the clutter out of here, and yeah, seat's pretty clean. Nice little bit of clutch dust on there, so that's perfect. The biggest issue I had was after we started loading up all the junk in the back of my truck, because we made a deal on this car, he got all frantic, couldn't find the key for the car, and immediately I'm like, well, at this point I'm still gonna buy it. I mean, I don't really care that much about a key, but you know, it does kind of suck because on these 05 Plus STIs, they have the immobilizer, and so that's basically a chip on the key. And without that, the car has a security light and will not start. So yeah, you're basically just out of luck. And then if you need to replace all that, you gotta buy an ECU, a ignition, key, and there's another module. I don't know if it's a body module or whatever, but you gotta buy all three of them, and they all have to VIN match. So it's kind of a decent issue. So I had a local guy come out, and he used the key barrel in the door, and he was able to make a key, got the ignition working because they match, and was able to program it. So hopefully all is well. I won't know for sure until I get the motor in it that it programmed successfully, but at least on his module or his scanner, it said it did. So fingers crossed there. So at this point, I got to get a motor for this thing put together, and most of the parts he gave me are not usable. So the average person, if they bought this car and didn't have parts laying around, they would be kind of out of luck. You'd be spending a ton of money, but luckily for me, I have most of the parts needed, so we'll be all right there. But I still think I overpaid for it, so this guy's pretty lucky that I bought this pile. Alright, so that harness that was sitting in the passenger seat, that was said to be the harness from the car that he pulled because he was going to paint the car black or something. And I questioned it from the beginning. Well, I looked a little more into it. I forget which tag has it, but yeah, this is a harness for a Volvo. So I don't know why that's in a Subaru, but that cleared up some of my questions. So here's the spare parts the guy gave me. This freaking roached block that looks like it's been sitting outside for a little bit. Here's one of the V25 heads. Again, looking like garbage. And the other head is down there, but it's all junk, so Luckily I have low mileage 07 STI heads with, you know, it's about 16,000 miles on them, so I'm going to be putting them in the car. So that should be good. But yeah, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to start working on that short block now. So here's said block. It's a new OEM unit. This is kind of how I got it. I did put the oil pump on the other day and the water pump, but that's about it. Otherwise, just a bare block. This is like a parts motor I have from another STI that was in a wreck. So I'm kind of just taking hardware from that to use from this, because the guy basically left me with nothing but, you know, a bunch of rusty hardware. So I'll do a little time lapse of me throwing the heads on. Alright, so you can see here I'm starting to put the ARP head studs in. These are ARP 625s. They're a little beefier for this application, but I had them laying around from another build, so I figured I'd put them to use. Alright, so these are the heads I have, which they are a little hefty. V25, which are specific to the 07 STI. These ones, like I said, they're in good shape. Give them a quick clean, but they are ready to be sent. They can be dropped in and they're good to go. Alright, so heads down on now with the ARP head studs. You have ARP's washer and nut assembly, so I'm throwing them down on there. With the washer down on, you gotta throw some ARP grease on there, on the actual stud shaft itself. Just helps everything torque properly. ARP has a special sequence, so I followed that. It goes 30, 60, 90 intervals of that. Cam journal's cleaned. We're putting some assembly lube on and dropping the cams down in. After that, get the cam caps installed, torque down properly, and that's pretty much it for a head. Basically just doing the same thing to the other side then. I'll throw that in a time lapse. So not too bad with these motors. It all goes together like Legos. So at this point, we're ready to flip the block over. The long block. And pin it. Alright, so surfaces are cleaned. Got my baffle here. I'll lay that down in. Like so. There's nothing there. This would not be a good time to drop a bolt, so be careful. So I'm about to put this oil pan on. I just picked this thing up. I used the one before and it worked pretty well, so I'm gonna give it a shot. It's for dispensing the RTV. It kind of squeezes it down and gets every last drop out of it, so pretty cool. So this thing basically just flattens the RTV. Send it in like that. Squeeze it. I think. Oh yeah, there she goes. Very cool. Alright, we're gonna give this guy a try. See how it works. Just gotta make sure this gasket stays. Don't want that falling in the motor. Oil cooler's ready to go on. Got the O-ring. Do a little bit of oil on it. Fresh filter. So it's actually pre-oiled. It's pretty sweet. Throw a little extra. Next, I just gotta clean up this cross pipe. I'm gonna see if I have a cleaner one somewhere. But that's the last part. That just runs from the water pump to the cooler, runs through the cooler, and then it exits back into the block. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. And then soon we'll be ready for throwing headers on it.